Are you ready to break free from the doubts and limits holding you back? Welcome to Embrace Your Value, where therapy meets coaching to help you unlock your true worth and take control of your life.
Hi, I'm Kristen, a trauma therapist dedicated to helping you heal, break old patterns, and reclaim your power.
And I'm Jen, your support coach, here to show you how to set fierce boundaries, embrace self-compassion, and step boldly into the life you deserve.
So whether you're stuck in self-doubt or feeling lost, know this: your value isn't up for negotiation. It's time to own it.
Every week, we tackle real issues that challenge, inspire, and empower you to live with purpose and confidence.
So grab your favorite drink, take a deep breath, and let's get started.
Because you're not here to play small. It's time to embrace your value.
Hey everyone, welcome to Embrace Your Value. We are here today with a special guest who is Jen, and she's here to talk about her new book that's coming out, Give Your Yes a Bestie Named No, the boundary book every woman needs. So I've got some questions for Jen about this book, and we would love to share this with you. Are you ready, Jen?
Absolutely. Thanks, Kristen.
You're welcome, of course. So, Jen, the title of your book is Bold and Playful. Give Your Yes a Bestie Named No. Where did the inspiration come from?
Yeah. So, that title was kind of a mix-up of all sorts of things. So a lot of people commented that they wanted me to make the title No is a complete sentence, because I say that all the time, and that's something we talk about. However, if you go to Amazon and you put that in for a book, there's like 15 titles. And I was just like, I can't do that. And so I just kept asking people and coming up with different ideas. And I actually put different polls out in my community on Facebook and just started asking people. And we came up with one that was similar. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but one of my business besties said, well, why don't you call it Give Your Yes a Bestie Named No? She's like, you already have your group Blissful Besties and you use that all the time. And I was like, that's perfect. That's it. And so there were a few versions floating around in the beginning, but I just wanted something memorable, something that people would be able to look at and go, oh my gosh, that's what I need. I need to be able to say no more often. And really, that has been the feedback so far that I've gotten on it. And I just thought it was fun and playful and just unique. People will hopefully, even if they don't remember the whole title, they'll remember enough of it that they'll be able to get there and really sink into it.
Yeah, for sure. And it is a very original title. I was excited when I saw it, when you sent me some information about it. Okay, so why was this the book that you had to write? What gap were you seeing in the world that made you say, it's time?
I think this was the book I'd wanted to kind of write a boundaries book for a while. And I just kept seeing all these people, and women especially. The book is really geared for women, not that men won't get value out of it. I talk a lot about women in it because mostly that's who I coach. But I just kept seeing all these people that were shrinking themselves to make other people happy or to say yes when they really wanted to say no. And I just kept seeing all of this and I thought, gosh, there's lots of boundary books out there, but there's not one specifically for how to say no when you need to and you want to, but everybody else expects you to say yes. And to me, that was really an important key factor in it. So the other thing around this is that the gap I saw wasn't really knowledge. It was permission. so many people, and women especially, need the permission to say no. They needed someone to step in and say, it's okay for you not to do everything. You don't have to live in good girl syndrome all the time. And so that's really what inspired it, what I saw. And I don't know, I was just really compelled this spring to write this book. It was an absolute no-brainer. And it kind of wrote itself, to be really honest with you. I was just the facilitator of the whole thing. I just sat down and the pen took over, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, perfect. Well, this may have been answered by what you just said, but just in case something sparks something else for you to say, was there a specific moment or client conversation that made you realize this message needs to be in people's hands?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I really did just feel compelled to do it. But one of the things when I was thinking back over the whole course of writing was I had a client who we were in a conversation and she just said to me, and I would probably guess there were tears in her eyes. Sometimes it's hard to tell that on Zoom. But she said, I didn't even know that I was allowed to have boundaries. Like that was never something. She's like, I didn't even know what they were. Why would I be allowed to have that? And I knew in that moment she wasn't the only person that felt that way, because I used to feel that way. Even though I had gotten really good at setting them and I learned early on how to set them, I didn't know that's what I was doing. And so I felt like I wasn't setting them. And so that just really, it cemented the whole thing. It needed to happen, and it needed to happen now.
Yes. Well, that leads us to the heart of the book. So you break down boundaries in a way that's really approachable. What's one core message you want every reader to walk away with after reading your book?
Well, there's so many, but I would say the biggest one is that boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're the bridges that lead you back to yourself. So many of us were taught that boundaries are harsh, selfish, or mean. But in reality, boundaries are an act of honoring not just yourself, but your time, your energy, your relationships, and your truth. And so my hope is that if a woman reads this book and thinks, I'm allowed to protect my peace without guilt, then I've done what I came to do, right? Like that's the reason I want that book to be out there. So if you're listening to this, the real truth is when you align your beliefs and your boundaries, you don't just survive, you actually begin to live. This is really what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about self-boundaries early in the book. Why are those often the hardest and most important kinds of boundaries to set?
Those are the hardest boundaries to set because it's so easy to break promises to ourselves. It's easy to put ourselves in last place. It's easy to say, I'm going to do that when I get home. And then when you get home, you're tired and you go, yeah, I'm not going to do that. It's okay. It's just me. It's not hurting anyone else. And that's something I used to say all the time. Well, I'm not hurting anyone else. It's just me. It's no big deal. I can handle it. And the thing with that is that actually inadvertently teaches us how we're treating ourselves, which in return teaches others how to treat us. So it's kind of this whole domino effect that we don't even realize is happening. Because when we don't honor our own needs and our own values and our own boundaries, we teach others that they don't have to honor them either. And that really hits to the core. When you learn that and you understand that, it changes everything. Because then you are going to honor yourself above and beyond everyone else. Because you need to. You know that that's the important thing.
Absolutely. I agree so much with everything that you just said. So, chapter 3 is the one that you give away as a freebie, which is so cool. It's all about keeping promises to yourself. Why did you choose that one? And what makes it such a pivotal chapter?
Yeah, I chose that one because honestly, I do feel like it is the crux of everything. I feel like you can learn how to set boundaries with other people, and that's great. But like I just said, if you don't learn how to set those boundaries with yourself, you're still teaching others how to treat you. And you're still showing yourself that you don't deserve your own boundaries, that you aren't worthy of them. And so that's why I feel like that chapter is most important. And to be really honest, I did a summit this summer and that chapter fit really well, which was really why I chose that chapter to start giving it away. But it worked out because I do think it's one of the best. And that's why it's really close to the front of the book, because I want to make sure people start mastering it quickly and they get past that so that they can then work on the rest of the relationships around boundaries.
Jen, let's talk about real talk and transformation. So, guilt. You do a great job in the book reframing guilt around saying no. Can you walk us through how someone can stop feeling selfish for setting boundaries?
That's such a big thing, right? And guilt isn't always a sign that you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it's a sign that you're doing something different. So that's a big indicator right there. Like you really have to know, are you doing something wrong or are you just doing something different? And a lot of the women that I work with have been conditioned to believe their worth is tied to how much they do for others. So when they finally say no or they prioritize themselves, their nervous system panics because it feels unfamiliar, and that unfamiliarity gets labeled as guilt. So to me, the first step is recognizing that guilt and just, is it something that I need to be concerned with, or is it just something new and different? And that's okay. So if something comes up for you, like if I'm not giving, I'm not valuable, or saying no means I'm selfish, those are the things that are coming up for you. Once you know that, you can start to name those beliefs. You can start to recognize them and say, no, that's something from my past. I don't have to take that into my future. And you could also question it, like, who taught me this? Is it actually true? What benefits are there for me keeping it? Like, if I keep this belief, what's good in it for me? What do I get out of it? And then from there, we replace that with guilt with gratitude. And instead of saying, I feel bad for setting that boundary, we shift to, I'm proud for honoring what I need. We tell it, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for protecting us. And then we remind it that we get to take control of our life and we rescript it. We flip that script and we say, no, this is what we're going to say now. And I'm not going to feel guilty for it. I'm not going to let it be the thing that holds me back, because I get to set my own boundaries and I don't have to feel guilty for it. Not everybody has to like my boundaries. Not everyone has to agree with them. That's theirs to own and that's theirs to work on. I don't have to fix somebody else because they don't like what I said or did, because I have to know what I did was right and they have to deal with what comes up on their end. So it's a whole thing. We could have a whole podcast on that because I know you deal with a lot of that too, Kristen. So that's kind of the smaller version of all of that.
Yeah. And you're right. It's a totally huge subject. And we have done multiple mini parts and podcasts about these things. And so, yeah, that'd probably be a great thing for us to just nail down as a whole podcast. So is there a particular story, either from your own life or a client's, that really brings this book's message to life?
Well, mostly my own. I mean, I've been thinking a lot about this, obviously, with writing this book, but really my first boundary that I recognized setting was with my brother, who happened to be an alcoholic, and setting the boundary and saying that I'm not going to go into the whole story, but setting the boundary and saying that I won't let you treat me this way. And I protect my own energy, and I can still love you, even though I'm saying no to you right now. And I'm not allowing you to bulldoze me and railroad me. That really changed everything for me. And I think it started me down this path of, I don't have to tolerate things that don't work for me, and I can still love people. So one of the biggest things I say to my clients is it's okay to love people from a distance. And that is exactly what I mean by that. Loving them from a distance, letting them still do them, but loving them for the person that they are in your life. But you don't have to own the actions that they do. That's not yours. Like I was just saying, it's not yours to own. But I could still love my brother. He was my brother. I had many great, experiences with him. And so I still get to own all that and love him for that, for those experiences and for the human that he is. But I don't have to own the person that he is when he's drinking, when he's had too much, when he was out of control. That wasn't it. I didn't have to deal with that. And I didn't ever have to put myself back in that situation. And I made that decision at 19 years old when I first saw it. And I was like, okay, I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to do that again. And I never did. I never put myself back in that situation.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that story. I know that you've shared it before, but I think it's a really good point to make while we're talking about your book. So you write in a very conversational, supportive tone. Was that intentional? And how do you want readers to feel when they're reading your book?
It was very intentional. And I'm hoping that when they read it, they're going to understand that this is really coming from a place of compassion. Like when I wrote it from a place of, I'm talking to a friend. I'm just helping someone get to that next step when it comes to boundaries. And so like each chapter kind of builds that way. And I hope that they'll see it as really, this isn't a one and done kind of book. This is like a guidebook. It's almost like a book meets a workbook. If it could be both, it kind of is. And so it's not something that you just read and sit down somewhere. It's something that you read and you start taking action. If you really want to make progress with it, you start taking action and you come back to it and you look at it. And it's not long. It's super short. It's easy. It's not long. It's just a great little guidebook to show you how to do it to get to the next level.
That's great. Yeah, I love that. I'm really excited to see it when it comes out in its entirety. As someone who's never written a book, I've got some behind the scenes questions, if you don't mind. So, what was the hardest part of writing this book, and what part lit you up the most?
I would say the hardest part about writing the book was knowing how much information to put in there and what to put in, what not to put in, what to save for later, what to not be too repetitive. I feel like, especially now in this world, we kind of need to be repetitive, but yet in the same regard, sometimes people don't appreciate that. So I think that was part of it. The whole thing lit me up, like just writing it. The little known secret that I have on this is that I had a lot of it mapped out, but most of the book I sat and wrote in a matter of a couple of weekends. Like I just sat and started writing and that was it. And, and then I went back and obviously edited. And, I mean, there was a lot more to it, but the meat of the content was done in just a really short amount of time because that was how easy it was. I had all the information. Then I could go back and add stories and thoughts and, different things, but I knew it all. And I don't mean that like I know everything. I just knew what I was putting in the book and it just really flowed easy. So it made it super quick and easy. And I think the other really fun thing has been are the people that pre-read it and just the testimonials that I got back and all, not just the encouragement, but the light bulbs that went off for people. And they were like, oh, I didn't even think about that, or I'd never heard that before. All of that was really wonderful to get back and to really hear because I really appreciated that.
Great. Yes. So you're a coach, not just an author. How did your coaching experiences shape the structure and content of the book?
They're all over it. This is kind of what I've been coaching on for the past 5 years. And so this book is just 5 years in the making. And it is short and sweet, but it is 5 years in the making of coaching women and really helping them learn that setting boundaries is an important piece of everyday living. Like it's not a one and done. That's the thing about boundaries. We run up against them all the time and we're forever having to decide, am I going to enforce this boundary? Or is this a boundary I can let come down for a while? We change, we shift, we grow, but we always are running into it. So every woman I've ever talked to or every client I've ever talked to around this has been a part of this book. There are stories after stories and thoughts of, as I was writing it, oh, this hits with this client or this hits with this client. It's all over it.
Well, so is there anything that you left out that might show up in a future book?
Oh, heavens, yes. Absolutely. I mean, Give Your Yes a Bestie Named No is really just the foundation. There's so much more around it. And I really didn't dive very deeply into the whole identity shifts that happen once women start to reclaim their time, energy, and voice, who you become when you stop living for everyone else, and what happens to you when your worth isn't tied into your productivity or your people pleasing. So I think the next conversation or future book has to go deeper into embodiment. Who are you when you've set those boundaries? And what does that really look like for you? How do you live your truth every day and not just make it a one and done and then go back to old behaviors? This is a big thing we do with my coaching, is making sure that when they make their shifts, that those shifts take root. And we make sure that they fully live it, not just let the old habits come back and really take back over.
Yeah, absolutely. Follow through, consistency, that is absolutely essential. What would you say to the woman who knows she needs boundaries, but feels too overwhelmed to even start?
I would say the easiest thing that you can do when you feel that overwhelmed is to really start looking at your core values and pick one core value that a boundary is being pushed up against. So one core value that you feel like nobody respects me because of this, or I don't even respect myself. So for me, when I was always giving into myself and not really putting myself first, it was the core value of time, of honoring my time and allowing myself to have what I needed. And so when I changed that was like where I started. I just was like, okay, I'm going to start honoring my time. If I don't feel up for something, I'm not going to feel obligated to do it. I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm just going to say no, and I'm going to be okay with it. And it was tough. It was definitely something I had to work on and practice, and I'd mess it up and I'd remind myself, this is what I wanted. And so I'd say, okay, how am I going to do it different next time? And it is a process. But just pick that one boundary that's being pushed and just start there. Like, what does that look like for you? What do you want your life to look like for that boundary? And start in on it.
Yeah, I think getting started, just taking that first step, even making the decision about which value it is that you want to pursue, it's all really hard. And you do a really great job helping people with that. So, big question, Jen, this is the fun one. How can listeners get their hands on your book?
So it is going to be available on August 25th of 2025 for anybody future listening to it. And it is available on Amazon. I will put a link in the show notes, but it doesn't go live until August 25th. So that is kind of the big push day. You know, every author, every aspiring author wants to go number one, at least on Amazon. So that is kind of the goal for that. But if you're listening to this after that, you can always just go into Amazon and Google it, or I will put a link in the show notes and you can go in and purchase it. Right now you can get it in paperback and on Kindle. Eventually I will record it. I just haven't made it to that level yet. So it's coming, just some other things that have come up first. So I will get it recorded and it will be an audiobook. So then you'll have it at your fingertips. If you do Audible or other audiobooks, it'll be out there.
Great. I am so excited. So if someone wants to go deeper beyond the book, how can they work with you?
So you can, one of the biggest things that I am doing these days is really group coaching. So most everything I do is group coaching. And one of the biggest things I'm doing is a full 4-month program where you can pick the limiting belief that you need to shift. You can set the boundaries. Once we figure the limiting belief, then we set the boundaries that protect that limiting belief, that new belief. And then we find our bliss. We really jump into the whole thing. So if you listen to any of our other podcasts, Kristen also interviewed me on my core process, which is beliefs plus boundaries equals bliss. And that's it. That's really the 4-month. So you can find me on Facebook under Thankful Hearts Coaching. You can find me on Instagram, on YouTube at the.jennifer.anderson. And all of our stuff is always linked in the show notes. But you just have a conversation with me. The only way you really get to work with me is to talk to me. You got to come in and have a conversation, whether we do it in the DMs, whether we jump on a Zoom call or a phone call, it doesn't matter. You just have to have a conversation with me because I take coaching very seriously and I always protect my women. So I don't always let people in that I don't know are a good fit. So you've got to come have a conversation with me. But once you do that, we're going to do it.
Great. Well, I am so looking forward to this. Thank you for sharing your story of the book. And we will all look for that to come out. Is there anything else that you want to add, Jen?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I'm just really excited. I hope you guys enjoy the book. I would love to hear feedback from anybody who buys it. One of the things that all aspiring authors also want is reviews on Amazon. So if you do go buy it, jump back on Amazon after you read it or get started in it. And please leave me a review if you feel so inclined. Otherwise, no, I would just love to hear what you think of it. And I hope it really, really serves its purpose. That's the whole goal, is to help women set better boundaries and really find their true bliss, because that's why we do this.
Great. Well, it was so good talking to you about this book. And we will close unless you have some other things. And everybody can just look forward to finding this on Amazon.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristen, for doing this. And thank you guys for being here. And be sure that you subscribe to any of our channels for podcasts so that we can help more listeners and more people, that we can get this in their hands, because that's part of the whole point. So thank you guys all, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks. See you next week.
Thank you for being here with us today.
If today's episode hit home, don't just keep it to yourself. Subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Because everyone deserves to know their worth.
Next week, we're diving even deeper with more insights and tools to help you break free from limitations and live authentically.
Until then, keep raising your standards, owning your worth, and embracing your value.